Starting out with a salute to the flag and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Barton?
Here.
Ms. Suter?
Here.
Mr. Conti?
Here.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Here.
Mr. Panucci?
Here.
Mr. Talty?
Here.
Ms. Cantilla?
Here. Mr. Edwards?
The New Jersey Open Publics Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Brick Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be posted on the Administration Office Bulletin Board, the official district website, and Channel BTV 20, and sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Brick Times, the Star Ledger, and Municipal Clerk's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second.
Whereas the Brick Township Board of Education has been formed pursuant to applicable New Jersey statutes, and whereas the board is charged with the responsibility of performing all acts and doing all things consistent with law and the rules of the State Board of Education necessary for the lawful and proper conduct, equipment, and maintenance of the public schools and public school property of the Brick Township School District, and whereas Section 7 of the Open Publics Meeting Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting of the board in certain circumstances, and whereas the board has determined the circumstances exist for such an executive session, and whereas the board has found the action described below to be necessary and proper, now therefore be resolved by the board on January 29, 2015, that the public shall be excluded from the discussion of an action on the executive session herein set forth. The session will be approximately 30 minutes, and the general nature of the subject matter is student matters. It is anticipated this time that the above stated subject matter will be made public if and when it is deemed to be in the public interest to do so, and the need for confidentiality is no longer required by the board.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Ms. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I'd like a motion to come back into public session.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Thank you, Mr. Panucci. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Suter? Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes. Okay, if it looks a little different here tonight, it is because we have done away with our podium. I have a sign-in sheet here. Anybody that would like to come up and publicly make a statement or has a question, you can print your name and print your address for the record, and I will hand you the microphone, and you will have 5 minutes, and we would love to hear from you. So I just wanted everyone to know that's why the podium's not there, and I welcome you to come up and speak with us. No. When you come up to speak, you can sign your name, because we need it for the record, so we have the correct name for our minutes, okay? I understand that our representative from Brick High School is not here tonight. So our representative from Brick Memorial, Sean? Okay, I didn't see you.
Nice try. Nice try. Don't forget, Sean, you got it.
I'm doing stand-up.
Okay?
All right. Where should I stand?
Right here, and look straight at the camera.
All right. Well, hello, members of the board, teachers, administration, and students. First, I want to say Happy New Year. A little late, but I was here on the 8th. I saw everybody get sworn in and stuff, and that was really cool. It's like a didactic experience, if you will. I wanted to comment on the snow day, delay, and early out. I just wanted to say everything went smoothly. Everybody got to school safely. So I think you guys made a great decision on all 3 of those days, and everything went great thanks to the crossing guards and to transportation. SGA is having a PB&J drive for local food banks. After the holidays, people tend to not donate as much. So we're trying to get bread, peanut butter, and jelly to donate to all the local food banks. So if anybody wanted to donate, they could feel free. That's going on through this month and into February. We had 26 new NHS members inducted this month, continuing the great legacy under Mrs. Gunther. The teachers are all very excited about the park dates that were just announced after tirelessly working to prepare students. Those dates are March 30th, April 2nd, April 14th through 16th, May 18th, 21st, and the 21st. Students not testing, like me, will have a delayed opening, which is very exciting. The Paranormal Society held a medium after school this month, earlier on, to raise money for ghost detecting material. I think it's really cool that we have a Paranormal Society. It just goes to show how open we are to making clubs and letting people do whatever they desire for a good education. SGA's very own won all 3 spots in the county for Voice of Democracy. First went to Nicole Romaine, second went to Nicole Dyson, and third went to Katie Coral. On January 19th, they had a scholarship and plaque ceremony. So congratulations to them. We also want to congratulate Mrs. Catherine Bachel on winning Teacher of the Year, and to Mrs. Nina Rotino for winning the Educational Service Professional of the Year. I personally don't know either of them, but through the students, I've heard that both of them are really awesome. Mrs. Bachel is a great teacher, and I've heard Mrs. Rotino is very nice. And then I just want to really quickly end with the winter sports accomplishments. So our wrestling team is 11-1 and is currently first in A South and number 2 in the Shore and third in the state. Boys bowling is 36-6, currently first in A South, number 1 in the Shore, and number 1 in the state. Girls bowling is 40-2, currently first in A South, number 1 in the Shore, and number 1 in the state. Girls basketball is 10-3, currently tied for first in A South, 6th in Central Jersey Group 4, and that's it, sorry. And girls swimming 6-3, currently tied for second in A South. Boys track finished third in the Ocean County Championships. Girls track did the same, but finished fourth in Ocean County Championships. Boys basketball is 6-6, and they're at the halfway point in their season. And that's it for winter sports. I hope they'll see them next month here as well, getting the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. At this time, I'm going to have, wait, excuse me, Dr. Caldes. I'm shaking it up a little bit. Mr. Conti, I have some certificates for you to give out. And Mrs. Conti, if you wanted to come up and join Mr. Conti.
Your daughter.
Tonight we have the honor of announcing the New Jersey National Girls and Women in Sports Awards. 2 of our students got these, and Mrs. Conti is going to introduce and talk a little bit about.
All right, the first award is going to Haley Highland. If you'll come down here, please. Haley is being presented tonight with the New Jersey National Girls and Women in Sports recipient Outstanding Achievement Awards. Congratulations. Don't go anywhere yet. Just very quickly, Haley was a captain of the varsity girls Mustang volleyball team this season, who, for the very first time in school history, not only beat Southern Regional High School, which is a powerhouse in Ocean County, but qualified for not only the Shore Conference for the first time in school history, but also the state tournament for the first time in school history. So this was a very, very important season for Captain Haley, who is not only a leader on the court, but was a leader in the classroom as well. So congratulations, Haley.
We have one more award here, and that is going to Miss Diana Van Sickle. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Dr. Caldez?
Okay, this is dangerous. I got a microphone and not a podium, so uh-oh. All right, tonight we're very, very honored to have Mr. Bill Bruno. You can come up here. Mr. Bruno has been awarded the New Jersey State Athletic Directors Award this year. He has been a very dedicated individual to athletics on the national scene. Bill teaches many courses, is a mentor to many athletic directors in the state of New Jersey over the years. Bill's involvement in sports, both nationally, state, local, there's just so many things to say about. But the one thing that Bill Bruno has is a passion for kids, and in doing what's best for kids, working with his coaches, working with the administration, the board. Bill's Mr. Brick Memorial, I would say it. It's a great day to be a Mustang, is Bill's biggest phrase that he used all the time when he always reported back on what went on in Mustang athletics. But Bill was also the district athletic director for many years, and he was green and white and green and gold. Did a great job. We're just very blessed to have two great athletic directors, in Bill and Ricky Hanshin over here. But Bill has done so much, and we're very proud of everything you've done for many, many years here in the Brick Township School District. But like, again, I'll say one thing: Bill does everything for kids first. Sometimes he might ruffle some feathers along the way, but his heart is always for what's doing best for kids. Bill is, all of our athletes know who Bill Bruno is. Bill is at every event he can attend. Sunday, he used to get phone calls at 7 o'clock saying he's starting ice hockey. It's a 7-day-a-week job for Bill, and I just can't think of a greater award. He'll be honored at the State and National Athletic Directors Conference down in Atlantic City at the end of March, which I think many of us will be very proud to attend. It's a very prestigious award. His wife, Jeanette, is here in the audience, who at one time was an athletic director, is now assistant principal up at Marlboro High School, and puts up with Bill not being home very often during the athletic season. But Bill is everywhere. Like I said, he'll go to state tournament games up in Somerset County to go with our team. Sometimes he's the only one that's there for our team when it's in the afternoon and parents can't make it up there because of the distance. But he knows everybody on every team, every athlete, and he truly loves what he does. And again, Ms. Cantillo, would you just like to say one thing?
There's not one thing to say about Mr. Bruno. I would just want to tell you, thank you very, very much. We're very, very honored and lucky to have you. I've been here a long time with you, and you are Mr. Brick Memorial. I will say that. Congratulations.
Now, just to be very quick, because Doc already gave me my marching orders about being quick tonight, because I can't go on. But real quick, everybody in this room knows that award would never have happened if it wasn't for Mrs. Petricoro, affectionately known as Sarah, and Mrs. Redden in this building, and of course, the better AD in the Bruno family, my wife. So thank you for everybody, Central Administration, for your support throughout the years, and I am humbled by all this. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very well deserved, Mr. Bruno, and I would be remiss if I didn't say how fortunate our district is, because in 2010, we had another Athletic Director of the Year with Mr. Hanchin, and he is our Athletic Director again, I'm happy to say, for Brick High School. But we have 2 men that were awarded the Athletic Director of the Year awards, and that is, we are very, very lucky to have both of you gentlemen. I didn't realize Dr. Caldez was going to talk so long.
Gave me a microphone. I thought
I know, that's a mistake. I'm never going to do it again.
He doesn't need a microphone.
Okay, we're going to move on to our winter sports, and I guess, Mr. Hanchin, we'll let you go first.
Thank you, Ms. Cantillo. Thank you, board members, for honoring these athletes tonight, and thank you all the parents and athletes that showed up tonight to honor these great young men and ladies. We have a few sports being represented tonight, but first I'd like to congratulate the athletes from Brick Township and Brick Memorial High School for your achievements. We have some state championship teams, we have some conference championship teams, and we just have some individuals that have won awards. I'd first like to call up my field hockey coach, Coach T, to present certificates to a couple of her field hockey players. Coach T.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for your continued support in field hockey, and Mr. Hanchin, he puts up with a lot when dealing with me, and I admit that freely. We're very lucky to have the honor to celebrate 3 of our athletes this year. Our first athlete is a junior representative. She was chosen for the A-South, and this is an athlete that I will tell you, I know 100% she listens to everything I say. Early in the season, we were in a game, and I tell the girls, I don't care what you have to do to stop the ball from going in the cage, you do it. I will put my goalkeeper, who has a 70% goal save, against any team, so give her the stroke to go against it. This athlete, who's a field player, literally, and I missed it because she was standing behind the keeper, I just heard it from the official, the ball came behind the keeper. She took it in her hand and threw it so it would not go in the cage. The official happens to be someone I know, is like, you taught her that, didn't you? And I said, no, I tell her to do whatever it takes to stop the ball from going in the cage, so I know she listens. Our junior representative for A-South this year is Emily Anodyne. Next, we have our 2, she was also a captain as a junior this year, and our 2 seniors, the only 2 seniors we have this year, both are being recognized. They were selected to the A-South All-Star team, and both were nominated, and I'm sure I'll find out tomorrow, like I do every year, to the National Academic Field Hockey team, which I'm waiting to hear. Both of them were nominated to that, and we're just waiting to hear if they made the team. Our first senior is Jess Heinley. And our second senior, who I hope continues playing club at Springfield maybe next year, Jackie Newman.
Thank you, Coach T. The next sport being represented is the girls soccer. We have a couple girls soccer players here tonight. Our head coach, Mike Berardinelli, is not here tonight because he had wrestling practice. So I told him I would present the certificates to the young ladies. Okay, the first one, she is a three-sport athlete here at Brick. She is a soccer player. She also runs winter track and spring track. She is a state honoree of the New Jersey Girls Soccer Coaches Association. Nicole Plant. She did tell me today that she might be a little late because they were running at the bubble today in Toms River, so I guess she didn't get back yet. The second female soccer player is probably one of the best girls that I've ever seen play here at Brick Township High School. And that's probably about 30 years, 35 years. I coached her father here when he was in high school. This young lady was third team All Shore. She was also the NJ.com All Group 3 team. And she is one of 300 high school female soccer players on the All-American watch list. That's in the nation. And she is only a sophomore this year. So we have 2 more years to watch her continue to grow and develop. Casey Palmer. I didn't know was going to be here. Okay, our last program is Brick football. We had a very successful year again this year. Last year they won the Group 3 sectional title. This year they were Class A South champs. And at this time I would like to call up Coach Dahl to present the certificates.
I'd like to thank the board for having this night for the boys and the girls. And I'm especially proud of my boys for winning another championship 2 years in a row. And I'm more proud of what they do in the community, and especially proud of them in the classroom. First person to call up, first team, A South, second team, All Shore, honorable mention for All State. Awesome on the D-line. He's top 15% of his class. He's a junior, Dan Finelli. The next player I'm going to call up is James Giuliano. He first team All A South for the second year in a row, second team All Shore. Our quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, he got around a 2,300 on the SAT. He's looking at schools like Franklin and Marshall and Salve Regina. He will be greatly missed. James Giuliano. Our next player, Jaquez Johnson, had a phenomenal year at DB, had 3 interceptions, first team All Shore, or second team All Shore, first team All A South. He had 3 offers for scholarships, 1 from Marist, 1 from Bentley, 1 from Assumption. Assumption happens to be the school that's going to give him a full ride, and he just committed today. We're very proud of him. He got a 640 on his SAT on the math, so he will go for accounting. We're very proud of him, Jaquez Johnson. Next player is only a sophomore, so we get him for 2 more years. He's a dynamic player. He was second team All-Shore, first team All-A South. We don't usually bring players up. You know, it's an old rule that Coach Wolf had for a long time, and I'm with Coach Wolf. Let the freshmen play with the freshmen, but his freshman year, he was so special that we did bring him up for the last 5 games. He's first team All-A South, second team All-Shore. He's a good student. He's a very respectful young man. He's playing basketball right now, and we get him back for 2 more years. Jasir Taylor. Our next player, Chris Kimbus, made an impact right away on the defensive line, and he got a lot of votes on the D-line and the O-line in our all-conference meeting, and he was first team All-A South, second team All-Shore, looking to continue playing football, maybe at Delaware Valley. We're really proud of him. He's also another respectful young man, and he'll be greatly missed. Chris Kimbus. Our last gentleman, Carmen Sclafani, was our quarterback. He got the most outstanding offensive player in A South. He was first team All-Shore for the second year in a row, and also he was first team All Group 4 for the second year in a row. You know, one of the best quarterbacks, you know, that ever went through this high school, and like a media guy said the other day, one of the best quarterbacks that ever went through the Shore Conference football. He had offers for football, but he's going to take the baseball route, and last week he verbally committed to play baseball at Rutgers on a scholarship. Carmen will be greatly missed, and he's an excellent student. He's in the top 10% of his class. Carmen Sclafani. Thank you.
Okay, don't go away. I just have one more presentation to give to Coach Dahl. Today I went over and picked up our championship flag for the 2014 Class A South Championship. I'd like to hand it to him now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanshin, and I have to tell you that it's really nice to see another championship flag fly in the Harold Hank Hanshin Gymnasium. That's really nice to see. I'll take a minute to let the students leave if they'd like to, unless...
Bill Bruno, yeah.
Huh?
Bill Bruno. It's got to be his kids.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. If you'd like to, go ahead, unless you'd like to stay for the other, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this and I'm saying I have to do this one. I'm sorry, Mr. Bruno, you have your sports team. I do. I really do.
Another presentation.
And they weren't sorted out.
I want to thank the Board of Education, Central Administration for allowing us to do this. We have a great tradition to recognize our student athletes in both schools.
Bill.
And our coaches. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to have my field hockey coach, Coach Ari, come up and present her certificates to our field hockey recipients. Coach Ari.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank Mr. Bruno for putting up with Coach Johnson and I. This year, our field hockey program at Brick Memorial High School ended with an overall season record of 8-10. This year was a huge success for us, which some things to note over 20 years since the Brick Memorial field hockey team qualified for the Shore Conference tournament. and over 10 years that we qualified for the state tournament with over a 500 record. So Coach Johnson and I were extremely proud of our girls. Unfortunately, we did lose in the first round of the state tournament. In a triple overtime game, we went into penalty strokes, which was a heartbreaker, but we did go out fighting. I have two athletes that we would like to recognize. Our first athlete will be a junior, Allison Slabisky. She is a forward. This year she received our Best Offensive Player Award. She was our leading scorer. She finished with 11 goals and 3 assists, and she also plays softball at Brick Memorial. Allison, come on up. The next player that we have to recognize is a senior. She was our goalkeeper this year. She is also a captain. She was also named our most valuable Mustang player for the 2014 season. She will truly be missed next year. She ended the season with 207 saves, 6 shutouts, and a 79% save average. She is looking to attend Newman College and continue her field hockey and possibly lacrosse career at Newman College next year. Amber Newman, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Next up, boys soccer, Coach Steve Perillo.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. The boys soccer team at Brick Memorial had a very successful year this year. We finished the year 13-5-2. We made the Shore Conference tournament for the first time in 8 years. We made it to the second round of the state tournament this year, losing to Manalapan, who went on to be the Group 4 Central Jersey State champs. We led all of A South this year in goals scored. And another accomplishment, we stayed in the top 10 in the Shore all season. We couldn't have done it without a few key pieces that we have here tonight. We'll start with junior Ed Seaman. He finished with 7 goals, 3 assists, and was named All-State Honorable Mention and third team All-A South. Ed, come on up. Next up, we have another special young man. He's number 1 in our class at Brick Memorial. This year, we were lucky enough to have him in the back, and he also won this year's Rusty Rizzatello Senior Excellence Award. He's the only one in Ocean County to receive this award. It's very special, and like I said, we're going to miss him in the back next year, Mike Raculia. Next up, I joked with Mr. Bruno because he was showing me the certificate, and I didn't really know this kid's name. We just called him Worm. Brian Malerba is our leading scorer. He finished with 17 goals, 11 assists. He was voted All-A South, second team All-State Group 4, and second team All-County this year. Brian was our lone forward up top. We got him the ball. He found the back of the net. He did his job every time we asked him to do it. That's Brian Malerba. All right, last up, Last up is our senior captain, Kevin Simic, is a 4-year letter winner for us. He capped off his senior year with 15 goals, 13 assists. He was named first team All-A South, voted player of the year in A-South, first team All-County, voted the second best player in Ocean County, second team All-State in the group. He was also named one of the top 30 players in the state of New Jersey, and he will be sorely missed. That's Kevin Simic.
I'm my pen back. Last minute notes. And the women's side of the soccer ledger, Mr. Caruso, the legend.
Thank you. We had a successful year this year with Brick Mill Girls Soccer. We ended up 15-8-2, which was, in the past was a norm for us, but it hasn't really been happening this year. It's the first time we had a 15-win season since 2008, so we're kind of proud of that. We ended up playing in the Shore Conference semifinals and in the state semifinals, and we ended up being ranked 3 at the Shore at final poll. I'm going to now talk about my 4 seniors I brought tonight. Actually, I didn't bring them tonight. That's fine, okay. Our first senior, Julia Kirkpatrick, was named first team All-A South, second team All-Shore, and honorable mention All-State. And she was also our MVP this year, and Julie will be playing, excuse me, Julie will be playing somewhere next year. She's still undecided in her choice of colleges, but she will definitely be playing college soccer next year. Julia Kirkpatrick. Our next senior, Madison Farley, was first team All Class A South, second team All Shore, and Madison has been our leading scorer the past 2 years. She's also been our offensive MVP the past 2 years, and she is ranked number 4 in the senior class and has her college choices down to Florida Atlantic and Notre Dame, and she'll be deciding on that soon. Madison Farley. You want this?
What?
Our next senior, Sammy Letterly, was second team All Class A South, third team All Shore. She is one of the top midfielders in Ocean County, and she'll be playing her college soccer next year at Glassboro. I'm sorry to make myself old. Rowan. I just make myself sound old. She's playing at Rowan next year. And Sam is also ranked she's in the top 6% of the senior class, Sammy Letterly. That's what it's all. And our 4th senior, Sierra Korber, was named second team All-A South this year. She's one of the top goalkeepers at the Shore, and our season kind of ended this year. Sierra's the type of kid that gives it all, and in the state semifinals, in the opening 2 minutes, she broke our collarbone, and there went our season after that. But like I said, she's one of the top goalkeepers at the Shore, and she'll be playing next year at Brookdale. Sierra Korber.
I don't get off, it's not often I get a chance to brag about this guy because he's very humble, goes about his business very quietly, avoids me at all costs. But Mr. Caruso did hit a milestone this past fall, winning his 300th game as the head coach of the Memorial Girls Mustang program. Outstanding accomplishment, Billy Caruso. I'm going to step in as a cross-country coach tonight, and Kyle Mueller can come up. Where's Kyle? There he is. Granted, cross-country is not one of the more high-profile sports, but Kyle Miller did everything he possibly could this past fall to correct that image. Standing next to me is first-team All-County, first-team All-Shore. He made the second-team All-State. He was the individual Ocean County champion. Ran with the big boys from CBA, placed fifth in the Shore Conference.
You forgot one.
Go ahead.
A-South championship.
Oh, he's also the A-South champion. I knew. And if I went long enough, you fill a few more things in. Just a great kid, typical distance runner, very brainy. Where are we going next year?
Monmouth University.
There you go, going to Monmouth University. Kyle Mueller, congratulations, Kyle. Now I'm going to need some help up here from my colleagues from Brick Memorial, so if I could have the three assistant principals come up and give me a hand. We got football left, and then, of course, 20 girls on the gymnastics team, but we'll leave it for last. I don't know how many of the guys are actually here. I know we got basketball practice, track meets going on, but I'll go through what I have. First up will be Matt Capari. Matt made the first team all-division as a punter, and from what I understand, it looks like he'll probably be playing a little D-back for us next year. Is Matt Capari up here? Matt? You can put that aside, Coach O'Cone. Next, the returning quarterback, Tim Santiago. Is Timmy here? Again, a junior. Looking forward to seeing him return. Another junior, Mike Noble. Is Michael here? Nope. Okay, so the three juniors are not here, all returning. Now, I also have here from Coach Curry, who had a previous engagement, the seniors who made the All-Shore academic team 3.0 or higher. So I'm going to call your name out. Come on up and get your certificate. Congratulations on that part of it. I see Carl Coombe. Carl, come on up. Nick DeGroat. Is Nikki here? Nope, okay. Connor Owen, who also made the All-A South squad. Matt Cathy. Peter Walski. Zach Ty, who I know is at basketball practice. Marcus Foster, who I know is here. Alex Clayton. Chris Harvey. Joe Hans, who also made a division team as well as the academic squad. I know he's got basketball practice. And Chris Schultes. Chris? Okay, so that's it for the football for 2014. And our last squad of the evening, who were the defending South Jersey champions in gymnastics for the second year in a row, coached by Coach Borges and Coach Regazio. I'll turn the microphone over to you guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us.
Sure.
I don't like public speaking, and I try really hard to get better every year, which is something I hope from all of my kids is that they get better every year. Brick High School gymnastics is about more than the level at which you compete. It's about setting goals and achieving them. It's about learning to work through physical, mental, and emotional pain and succeeding in spite of it. It's about, most importantly this year, is learning that when you fall down, you must get back up. Sometimes you have to get back up by yourself. Sometimes it takes a team. Our team finished the season 12-2 this year. We weren't happy about the 2. But we persevered and brought home our second consecutive state sectional title and our second consecutive invitation to New Jersey High School state championships. It takes a team to do that. To rebuild when your confidence is rattled, to rise up when you've been dealt a rough blow. One of the things I'm most proud of is how our girls represent themselves in our school. I received multiple compliments from parents, coaches, athletes, and officials as how impressed they are at the unity of them as a team and the quality of athleticism that they display. In fact, 2 hours after our sectional title win, I was in Costco, and a man comes up to me and says, "Nice win, Coach." Obviously, I was a little confused. He was a parent of an opposing team. He's a youth sports coach And he and his wife shared it, how wonderful it was to watch the Mustangs work together in support of each other, something you should all be very proud of. I would like to thank Mr. Bruno for the tremendous support he has always given our team and me. I can't imagine that there is possibly a better athletic director out there. The level of skill to do the job he does is mind-blowing to me, and I am truly impressed and amazed. He very deservedly earned the title of Athletic Director of the Year. I want to thank the board for giving me the privilege of being the head coach of the Brick Memorial Mustangs, but I'd also like to thank the board for hiring this amazing young woman as my assistant coach, Jess Regazio. She is truly a catalyst in the overall success of our program. I've known Ms. Regazio since she was quite young. She was the gymnast, I was the judge. I've had the privilege to watch as she has grown into a smart, hardworking, and fascinating adult. I know our school system is lucky to have her, because I know I am. And I mostly would like to acknowledge all the young women of the sectional winning Brick Memorial Gymnastics team. Through the competitive efforts of captains Fiona O'Doherty, Caitlin Alamo, and our second team All-Shore captain Emily Clayton, as well as senior Alyssa Day, sophomore Brianne Dombrowski, and freshman Allie Prince, and the supportive efforts of the rest of the team, we were able to retain our title and continue our tradition of strength, grace, and commitment to a goal. Thank you. We were announcing everybody as fast as we can. You want to help? Just who's here? Good. I'm sure everybody would appreciate that. You good?
Okay.
You get to. I did the worst part. You read. Sorry.
Yeah, so Kristen Afiro. I was just gonna go. No, open.
Sorry.
It's okay. Sarah Koch. Monica Musso, who's not here tonight. Michelle Foster. Andy Sayer. Casey Jazikoff. Carly Kristofi. Nicole Berry. Michelle Nelson. Allie Prince. Alyssa Day. Emily Scott. Fiona O'Doherty. Janaea Reeves. Jenna Cooper.
You'll have to juggle it out.
Not here. Emily Clayton, who is also our MVP and second team All-Shore.
A lot of our girls that weren't here had gymnastics practice tonight, so again, thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno, and thank you to all the coaches. Take a minute to let everyone that wants to leave after the sports presentation.
Yep. She's got that.
Just need dates. Give me a call. Have Mrs. Joseph call my office. My secretary will look at the calendar. And if you give me like at least 4 dates, she'll look at us so that I can come over, okay? And whatever time you want. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It is really warm.
Very warm.
If I could come back, I would.
Congratulations.
I drove by the other day.
Congratulations, guys. Great job.
Big guy.
Yeah. Nice young man. You know, me.
They're not saying. They don't want
Oh,
to
yeah?
pin. Sunday night.
Read the email. Remind me.
Super Bowl.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call Dr. David Nyman up
Yeah, close enough.
from Effective School Solutions to give us a presentation.
It's going to be rather difficult to follow these presentations. We have no awards to give out to anybody, so I'll do the best I can. I want to thank the board for giving us, I understand, a short period of time to present an overview of what we've been doing in BRIC for the last year and almost last year and a half, and also provide you with some ideas that we've been talking with the district leadership about on how we could continue to work with your students and how we might be able to provide services for different students than we're currently providing students for. Hopefully I know how to do this and I will turn this correctly. Excuse me if I'm not facing there, but I guess I have to look at the PowerPoint. Anyway, that really worked well. Okay. Anyway, the mission of Effective School Solutions in BRIC and in all of the school districts that we are in is to provide clinical programming for students who are struggling with emotional and behavioral problems so that they can be retained within the school district and benefit from all of the opportunities that a school system, particularly one the size of BRIC, can provide students from an academic, from a social, psychosocial, and from an extracurricular viewpoint. So our goal is to provide clinical programs so that the students can be maintained in the district as opposed to have to go out to an out-of-district placement where the options for the student is far more limited and frankly the cost for the district is rather high. We came into the district last September, a year and a half ago. We provide a wide range of services for your students and the school in general. In fact, we've included for the board members package that includes the specific services that we provide. Here is a list in general of the services we provide. But the heart of what we offer students is an intensive clinical program of counseling and support so that they can be able to benefit from being in the school. We provide group therapy on a daily basis, individual therapy, family therapy, parent programs. In fact, we have a parent newsletter that we email to your parents in our program on a monthly basis. We've included that in the package as well. We do a number of different programs for students that have school avoidance. Those are students who are anxious and can't come to school. We have a number of programs for different types of problems and special problems. We have a track for students with substance abuse problems. There's a wide range of things that we do, and I won't bore you with all the details, but the idea is that we provide an intensive clinical program for these students. We do in-service training for your teaching staff. We have a newsletter that we've included here, that we do a newsletter on a monthly basis for teachers on how to work with students that have emotional and behavioral problems. But there's a list of all the services that we provide for you. Oh, I did it again. I'm much better at programs than I am in working these kind of things. I'm sorry.
Jim, just sit there.
Okay. Anyway, I mentioned that we started in September of 2013, and I can tell you that we walked in and had a significant challenge in that we began once the school year had begun. We began in late September, and if we were going to give out an award, I would give out an award to the leadership of your school district, the principals of the school, the special services staff, the superintendent, all of the leadership of the district really came in and gave us a lot of structure and a lot of support to help us. It's quite challenging to come into a school district once the school year begins, as you can imagine, and that would be the award that I could give out to your district in terms of the help that we were able to get in beginning our programs. It's quite a challenge, and without them, I don't think it would have been possible that we would have been able to make it. We provide programs in your 2 high schools for a capacity of 18 students in each high school, 18 in one and 18 in the other, for a total of 36 students. We could turn. Okay. These programs we collect a lot of information about the impact it has on your students, and I just want to review some of the data that we have about what goes on with our students. The first one is we, of course, have provided services for the last year and a half for 60 students, and only 3 of these students ended up needing to go to an out-of-district placement. And if you could understand, we are providing services for 60 students, almost all of them at significant risk for needing to go to an out-of-district placement. And our clinical programs have made such a difference for them that only 3 of them needed to go out-of-district. We also, if you can turn to the next page, we track how our students are doing academically, behaviorally, and in attendance-wise. And here is how our students are doing compared to how they were doing before they entered our programs. We track each student compared to what we call baseline, which is how they did in the marking period before they got into our programs. And I have to tell you, when we looked at this data, I made sure that we triple-checked it because it is so impressive that I got nervous that this was just too good, but we triple-checked it to make sure it was correct. And the grades for your students have increased by 66.7% from how they were doing before us. Disciplinary incidents have gone down by 67.6%. And absences have been cut almost in half since they've been in our programs. So this tells you the impact that the programs are having on the students. They're able to stay in the district and benefit from all the services and opportunities and sports that you people seem to have, and all the winning teams that you seem to have. And they perform much better academically, they behave better, and they stay in school. So it's really very much of a win for the student, and it's a win for the family, and it's a win for the district. You can turn again. We also do parent surveys to get the feedback from parents who are in our program, and we did this at the end of last school year. We do it again, actually we're doing it again next month. And this is the survey that the parents fill out, and we had literally 100% of the parents either strongly or agree with each of those items, and then we have some details of the notes, but you can see the parents strongly endorsed the program and the difference that it's making for their children. So obviously the program is having the desired effect for the students, but there are several challenges that we have been identifying, and that's really what we were talking with the school leadership about and the district leadership, and we've been working together throwing out ideas that could make a difference in the following kinds of ways. Let me tell you what the challenges are. We can turn? Thank you. As we list here, the first challenge is the programs are almost always full. And that is, of course, very good, but of course frustrating, because there are other students that need to benefit from our programs, and frequently there is no capacity to be able to bring them into the program. The second challenge is our programs are in the regular high school setting. Our students are in regular classes with everybody else, and they come to us at different points during the school day. And that structure of us being only in what we call mainstream classes is a big challenge, because we have students, and there are other students in the district, and there are students that are out of district placements right now that we would all like to bring back, but there's a recognition that they can't make it in a mainstream school setting, that they need more of what we call an alternative school setting, so that they can then be in the regular public school system and benefit from a lot of what could go on. But if we put them in the mainstream setting, either the stress of being there or the stress that they will create in the district is just not appropriate. And so we can't bring those students back from out of district. And you also have students that need these services that we provide, but can't get it unless they're in an alternative setting, and so they end up going out of district without ever working with us. And that's a big challenge, and that's something we're going to talk more about. And when we've been talking to special services as we prepared for this presentation, they identified 11 students in the district right now that they think are on the verge of going out of district to a therapeutic school of some kind. So there's still a growing, or there's still a strong demand for the services that we have that we can provide, but don't provide because of the limited size of our programs and the lack of this alternative program that makes sense for some of your students. Just to remind you, for those of you who were involved a year and a half ago, the original vision for Effective School Solutions was really 3 steps here. The first was to start in the high schools. The next was to create a separate therapeutic school. And then the third was to expand to the middle schools to work with students when they're younger, because there's a lot of evidence that the earlier you work with a student, the better chance you have to make it a successful intervention for them. But it was really going to be 3 steps. And a year and a half later, we're now talking about the next step. You can turn. So I've identified the problems, the inability to work with certain kinds of students that can't be kept in a regular daily class, and the lack of the size of our programs to handle the demand that exists in your district. And we've talked with a number of options that we just wanted to review and tell you what we're working with in terms of the superintendent, the principals, the director of special services, different people in key positions within the system. And one is obvious: increase the capacity of our programs to handle the demand. The next one, which is the one we've done already a lot of talking and thinking about, is to create an alternative program for the students that I've mentioned to you that are not able to be maintained in the regular class structure. And that probably has the most potential to have the biggest impact in a positive way on some of the students in your district, because we could then provide services. They won't have to go out of district. Or I understand there's a lot of challenges with students dropping out. A lot of the students that are dropping out are the kinds of students that could make it in an alternative school setting. The kinds of alternative school settings, there's really 2 options for that. One is to build what used to be called a self-contained classroom, self-contained program. The other is to build a separate therapeutic school. We do this not that far from here, actually. We do it in the Freehold Regional High School system. We do it for them. But we're not going to go into the details about which way makes the most sense at this particular point. We just want to introduce this concept to the board in general, and we can talk more about it with the school and district leadership as it evolves. But those are the 2 things that we really see as the next step: expanding the capacity and creating this alternative setting. And if you had to ask me if you have to choose one from a budgetary viewpoint, which I completely understand, I would choose the alternative setting, because it will provide services for students that right now have none of the options that they need to be able to stay in the school, as opposed to dropping out or having to go to an out-of-district placement. Turn again. Okay. Actually, I just already filled everybody in on those kinds of things about working on a plan. The idea would be that we would develop this plan with the district leadership in the next several months, with the goal of starting this program in September of the upcoming year. Okay. The impact of both these ideas are rather significant. The students that right now are knocking on our door to get into the program can get into the program, and the students that are creating a great struggle for the school structure, the kids that can't be maintained in a regular setting, who are right now dropping out, creating difficulties, or going to an out-of-district placement, if we have been able to create this alternative program, either in one school or both, or an independent setting, we'll be able to help those students. And our own data from our other alternative schools would suggest that we will have the same positive impact in that setting that we do in the mainstream setting. And so the final message I really want to tell you is that we are very grateful to be in BRIC. I've already mentioned several times about the district leadership and the school leadership. I can't tell you how helpful they've been with the challenges that we have faced when we came in late and working with some of the students. And these are the ideas that we've been talking about and where we might be able to go next to help even a broader range of your students. Okay? Any questions?
Can we get a copy of your presentation?
Yes. Wait, you have a copy, we can,
Okay, thank you.
he can give it to you. This I've already written on, you don't want that copy. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nyman. Moving on to approval of minutes, December 18th, 2014 executive session, December 18th, 2014 regular meeting, and January 8th, 2015 reorganization meeting. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Conti.
Oh, two sound so much alike. Do I have any questions on any of these? Seeing none. Ms. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Abstain on 1 and 2, and yes for 3.
Ms. Suter?
Abstain on number 3 and yes to 1 and 2.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Moving on to committee reports, Mrs. Suter, curriculum and instruction.
Thank you, Ms. Cantillo. We had our curriculum meeting on July 16th. Present was Dr. Morgan, Mr. Conti, Mr. Barton, Dr. Uzinski, Ms. McNamara, and Dr. Caldez. The Jumpstart Embedded OCC courses. There are 2 OCC courses offered at both high schools, General Psychology and Western Civilization. These classes are not weighted like the honors and AP classes. However, students do receive high school and college credit for these courses. It was not reflected in last year's program of study. Hopefully that got updated. But if it's not in there, you get 5 credits for your high school and 3 credits, 3 college credits, as long as you meet all of the requirements and criteria from Ocean County College. The high school and middle school math programs will change next school year. There's a committee of 19 teachers from both the middle and high schools conducting the Muther method. Apex, this is the district's online software utilized for supplemental instruction, as well as gaining credit for classes in the Rebound, which is offered at both Brick Township and Brick Memorial. Dr. Uzinski stated that student grades and comprehension of certain subjects are improving using this online resource. I'd just like to ask if there's any district students who use Apex. You can email me about your experience with it. My email is ssuter@brickschools.org. That's SSUTER@brickschools.org. At times, high school classes need to be combined due to low enrollment. So this year at Brick Township High School, French 3 and French 5 were combined for this semester. Parents and students are notified before the classes begin. I know Dr. Uzinski is going to talk about the PARCC test, but I do want to mention Ms. McNamara and Mr. Bayo. These two have the daunting experience of trying to deal with the PARCC that changes, I don't know, every minute, every hour, every day. So I thank you so much for everything that you do, keeping us in compliance, the implementation that's going to be taking place when the testing goes through. I can't thank you enough. And Ms. McNamara, thanks for the condensed version at the meeting, because we don't want to be there all night. And that's it. Thank you, Ms. Cantillo.
Thank you, Mrs. Suter. Facilities, Mr. Panucci?
Unfortunately, our facilities meetings was this past Monday afternoon, but it was canceled for the impending storm. But I am happy to announce the projects we have this evening have come in under budget. So that's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
And the rest of the committee will know when we have our February meeting scheduled.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci. Finance, Mrs. Cusinelli?
Thank you, Ms. Cantillo. The Finance Committee met on January 22nd. Present were myself, Ms. Cantillo, Mr. Conti, Dr. Uzinski, Dr. Caldez, and Mr. Edwards. Just in the interest of time, I'll give you just a few key points because obviously, as you can imagine, we had a tremendous amount of things that we discussed. With regards to the cafeteria program, our number of free and reduced lunch students has increased by 140 students from last year at this time. And we're very happy to see that our cafeteria program is doing significantly better than it has in the past, and we would like to encourage all of our students and staff to please partake in the program. Please purchase your breakfast and lunch as often as possible because it benefits everybody. With regards to this year's 14-15 budget, we reviewed each transfer item that appear on today's agenda, and an analysis of the electric, gas, diesel, and other fuels showed that we are currently doing better than we anticipated, and hopefully that will continue and will come in under budget for the year there. And it's coming up on the time for the 15-16 budget. And Mr. Edwards and Dr. Uzinski have been meeting with building principals and will continue to meet with all other departments over the next few weeks to work to complete the process and to set up the upcoming budget. Just so the public is aware, at the February public meeting, we need to adopt our tentative budget, and we need to have our final budget for that year adopted by the March meeting. And just real quick, you'll notice on tonight's agenda that the township is donating a Genie Light Tower to us, and that was a nice donation to have, and you'll see that on tonight's agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Human Resources, Mr. Talty?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Cantel. On January 21st, we had a Human Resource meeting, and in attendance was Dr. Uzinski, Dr. Morgan, let me see, Mrs. Cusinelli, Sharon Cantilla, myself, and did I miss somebody here? Mr. Caldez, you're laughing down there. Yeah, okay. He was there. We had the normal discussions about retirements, resignations, ratifying resignations, replacing advisors, ratifying new employment, ratify a start date, approve volunteers, leave of absences, change some pay rates, substitutes, substitute removals, approve a furlough day for February 13th for cafeteria employees. That's in accordance with the Article 16, Section M of the TWU contract, which gives the board the right to have a furlough day once a year. We also had discussion on about 6 issues. We talked about having Larry Reed volunteer for administrative finances and possibly facilities. We talked about preferred substitutes and source of for teachers. There was an issue that I brought up about student athletes transferring from one high school to another. And I can say that I had differences, significant differences, with the administration on this issue. I've been in this town for over 50 years. I've been here since we had one high school and then we had 2. And it's become a major issue, not only in this town, but in just about every town in the state of New Jersey. About 2 weeks ago, in the sports sections of the Asbury Park Press, there was an article to this effect. And the athletic coach who was quoted, I'm not going to quote him because I can't remember the exact words, but he said in essence, you don't have children transferring from one high school to another for the math programs. He said it's all about athletics. And I'm just tired of what I see going on, and I have seen going on for over 35 years. I think if a person lives in this section of Brick Township, those students should go to Brick High School. If they live on the other side of town, they should go to Brick Memorial High School. There should be no athletic advantage here. So to say that I'm upset about it is to belabor the point. This has been brought up to the policy committee. I've given a suggestion, which I think is a start. Hopefully, the policy committee will act on it and come back in the near future with a change. That's all I have to say on the human resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talty. Mr. Conti, policy?
And here I am. I don't know if this was a blessing or a curse that Mrs. Cusinelli passed this baton to us. Unfortunately, we didn't get an opportunity in January to meet. As some of you guys know that are out there, that our policy manual does need updating. There are guidelines in place within our township policies as that should go. We're also in the process of a review by CUSAC right now. So the focus between myself, Mrs. Suter, and Dr. Uzinski is to make sure that we get our mandatory policies updated in as timely a fashion as possible, also with the help of our legal counsel, and to make sure that we also don't overload the Board of Education by throwing 10 policies their way to review for a monthly meeting. So there is a lot of work to be done in a variety of different capacities that I know that we are ready and willing and able to do. So I believe that we are going to try to meet in the first 2 weeks of February to try to hit the ground running and try to accomplish as much as we can for the 2015 year. And hopefully that will update our policy manual and set a precedent and pick up where Mrs. Cusinelli left off as a roadmap for whether it's this board or future boards to move forward. And
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Transportation Committee, Mr. Talty?
Thank you, Mr. Cantilla. Again, we were scheduled to have a transportation meeting this Monday, but with the shortened day, that meeting was canceled. However, I would like to introduce the two board members that I will be serving with on this committee, Mr. Frank Panucci to my left, and Mr. John Barton to my right. Just so that you know, this is a new committee, and it's designed to go after some of the issues that we've been trying to improve significantly with limited success. Mr. Larry Reed, who's sitting in the back there, hiding. Hi, Larry. Was instrumental in bringing to the forefront issues with workman's comp. That means people who are getting hurt on the jobs. We're about double the average school district of our size. That's costing us a lot of money. Also, our absenteeism is atrocious. And any of you people who work in a private sector, if I told you the number, the percentage of people who call in, and the cost what it cost us in overtime, I don't think you'd believe it. So this Transportation Committee has a lot of work to do, and I'm sorry that we couldn't get to start this past Monday, but we will by next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talty. The New Jersey School Boards Association, Mr. Panucci?
Unfortunately, I am 0 for 2 tonight. Our state association meeting in Trenton this week was obviously canceled due to the snow. But, so the rest of the board knows, don't forget February 12th at 6 p.m. in Lakewood is the Ocean County School Boards Association meetup.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci. Mr. Conti, Garden State Coalition.
You know what? I really don't want to make Mr. Panucci feel left out because I am also 0 for 2 tonight as well. We were supposed to have our meeting yesterday in New Brunswick, and it was canceled due to the weather and I guess the New Brunswick Board of Education actually needing their room and space to do some of their work. So unfortunately, we weren't able to meet. They're looking to reschedule the meeting for sometime in early February, as well as having our normal meeting at the end of February. And again, as I've done in the past, and administration and other board members have come with me. If you guys want to come, when I find those dates out, I will make sure to send them out.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Dr. Uzinski, do you have a superintendent's report?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. First, let me say regarding Park, not only Ms. McNamara and Jim Bayo, who's been so instrumental, but Jim Bayo's entire technology department, but also all of our administrators and our supervisors who have supported Mrs. Mack. Mrs. Mack is our testing coordinator who goes by mandated meetings, along with Jim Bayo, has to go to the mandated meetings to get all the changes that take place every other day. But without all of the administrators' support that they're getting, they wouldn't be as effective as they are. So I congratulate all of you, and I thank you because I know it is a very, very, very trying experience for all of us. But I know we would not be successful if it wasn't for all the support we at central office are getting. And I want to thank Dr. Morgan and Dr. Caldes, too, because they've risen to the occasion. So it is a team effort, and I congratulate all of them. They're doing a fabulous job, and I thank you. While I'm on the park, you all know that we are having some parent sessions where we will be getting out so that we can have some discussions with parents, because there's a lot of information out there that is mixed. There's some misunderstandings out there. There's some apprehension, which is understandable. It is a mandate from the state. We are going forward with it, and we're going to work with you and your students as much as we can. We're going to have many informational sessions. Parents that have sent letters in and asked and requested information, we get back to at a timely manner. Whatever information that we do have, we try to pass on to you, but please know that each week we do get changes from the Commissioner of Education as well as from the state, the DOE. So we're going to keep you informed as much as we can, whether it be through the webpage, whether it be through a Honeywell if it has to be, and we're going to have parent informational sessions in the district so that we can keep you abreast of what's going on. It's here, and we're going to do the best we can with it. I would like to say this. I want to thank the Board of Education. I look forward to working with some of the new chairs. I also want to thank the Board of Education for your innumerable number of hours that you put in as volunteers in order to help support the running of this district. So I thank you, and I look forward to working with you on that. The other is I want to publicly thank, it's a superintendent's nightmare when we have snow. It's a very, very difficult decision to make. We're on the phone for hours with each other throughout the entire Ocean County, talking to each superintendent. I'm on the phone with the OEM in the township, with the transportation at the township level, to look at the side roads. My concern is always the safety of our children, but also the safety of our staff that have to travel a long distance to work. I'm also concerned about the side roads for the little kids that are standing on the buses. I'm concerned about our bus drivers who take those children in their bus, and they have to get them to and back home safely. And I want to applaud our bus drivers, our custodians, our maintenance, our grounds. They are always there when we call and we ask, and we've had emergency meetings and we talk. They rose to the occasion. I publicly want to congratulate and thank them for what they do. It is a very, very difficult job opening up the entire district. And we're not perfect, but it's what they do is making it safe for our staff and our students. So I applaud each and every one of them. And as Mrs. Suter said, we are looking for a new math program in the middle school and the high schools. We have a lot going on with curriculum. We have a group of teachers that are actually going to go visit another district with the textbook that they have chosen. We're going to be having parental meetings so that we have input for the parents. We did start right away the ground running. We hit the ground running in the beginning of the school year with parent academies, so that one of the things that I've heard at a county meeting with parents was that they need more information on how to teach their students at home the math and work with them, and the language arts. And that was a big cry and a reach out. And we started that immediately, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the parent academies. So I'm looking forward to having more of those throughout the year with our supervisors getting out there. Unfortunately, right now, that we're limited because of the park and because of SGOs and everything else that has come down the pike to us. But we will continue to work hard and keep that open line of communication with the parents. So again, I thank the entire community for allowing us to educate your children, and we look forward to a great year because this Board of Education, and with communication with all of you, we are moving this district forward in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Buzinski. Moving on to curriculum and instruction, Dr. Morgan.
Thank you, Ms. Cantillo. Thank you. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items, number 1 through 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Do I have a motion and a second?
A motion that?
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Do I have any questions from board members on items 1 through 7?
I have a question.
Mrs. Suter?
On number 1, what 2 administrators are going?
I didn't hear your question.
What administrators are going?
I guess the middle school administrators for the workshop, number 2.
No, number 1, I'm sorry, number 2, yes.
2 middle school principals.
The 2 middle school principals?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
welcome.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes.
Could I just ask for a clarification for the benefit of the public also on number 7, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
At our county curriculum meeting, all districts were directed by the executive county superintendent to submit for board approval our district curriculum in this particular format. The standards referenced and the most recent state-adopted board version of the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards and the Common Core State Standards. This is a requirement for all our districts with CUSAC. Basically, this is the format that CUSAC wants us to reapprove our curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Mr. Tolte?
Yes, on number 7, dealing with the school calendar. I
Number 6.
see,
Number 6.
number 6, pardon me. Number 6, I see that on September 23rd, the school was closed for a religious holiday. That's something new? Yes,
I'm sorry. What is it you're asking?
the 23rd of September.
The 23rd, at last month's meeting, we had the rabbi here, who
Right,
said
I was
that's
here.
the holiest of holiest days. I checked with the county office and the other school districts in the area. They all have closed, including the vocational school, who we bus, along with some other schools. So therefore, I am making the recommendation to the board that we recognize that, being it is one of the holiest of holy days.
What concerns me isn't that. What concerns me is that we're moving that full day of education to, I guess it's June 17th, which is going to this early dismissal. So we're giving up a whole day of education, and we're getting theoretically a half a day's vacation, and everybody knows that in June, it's not exactly the best time to be teaching our children. So I have a concern there. Is there a possibility that we could substitute the 23rd and have another day during the year? One
Thank you for asking that, but this calendar had gone through a survey with the teachers' union, the teachers, the TWU, everyone with their recommendations in there. This has been a total recommendation. As far as for the half-day, when you say a half-day, it's only lunch that's taken out. It's still 4 hours of instructional time, and it's still based on a 180-day calendar, the same as always been done. And there's also 3 snow days built in, so if the snow days are not used, they would come off the calendar. So there's actually 183 days built into the calendar. But again, this was done by a survey of everyone in the township, what they had recommended, therefore I'm just recommending it to the Board of Education. But I do respect what you're saying, and I understand.
I can understand their answer. I can understand that. That's all I have to say.
Any other questions from board members? Seeing none. Mrs. Carey?
Public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have any public comment on this? Seeing none. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Studer?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Based on the answer I just got, yeah, yes to everything except number 6. Number 6, no.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Moving on to operations, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Cantillo. The superintendent recommends that the board approve items 1 through 21.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Do I have a motion and a second for items 1 through 21?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second.
Mr. Barton?
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Do I have any questions from board members on items 1 through 21?
If I could, though. The Facilities Committee, past and present, a lot of these projects have been a long time in the making and have done an excellent job. And if I can, if you can entertain me for a minute, if Mr. Edwards could just chime in, being that these projects have come in under budget, I believe we should also have money to complete another windows project and that boiler at Osborneville, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Panucci. So the Brick Township High School project for the HVAC is coming in under budget of $1,222,000. With that money, we'll be able to, and that you'll notice that we had a change in the agenda this week. We originally at Brick Memorial High School were only recommending, with the architect and attorney review, awarding the base bid plus alternate number 1. Because Brick Township High School's HVAC project came in so far under budget, we're now also recommending alternate number 2, which is primarily replacing valves at Brick Memorial High School from 3-way valves to 2-way valves. And if you've seen those that have been on the Facilities Committee and had the opportunity to see the photos that were taken, Jersey State Controls, one of our vendors came in and did an audit of the school force and took lots of pictures of what the conditions of those valves are right now. And it's really needed. So that project is actually going to be over the budget by $62,900, but because we have the $1,222,000 from the Brick Township High School project, we'll have more than enough funds to award that full project. We'll also be able to award 2 projects that we had previously rejected the bids on, and we'll be able to go back out to bid and hopefully get good numbers on those projects. We had rejected the bids on the window replacement at various schools throughout the district because we were over budget by about $800,000. And we also had rejected the bids at Osborneville for the boiler replacement because we were overbid by $363,000. So now with the money from Brick Township High School, and please remember, all this money is School Development Authority money and lease money because we had borrowed $11.5 million to do these projects. So with the money that's under budget at Brick Township High School, we'll now be able to hopefully go back out to bid for the windows and the boiler and be able to do all the projects within the $11.5 million that we borrowed. So I think it's really good news, shared with Mr. Panucci earlier in the week, and I know we didn't have a chance to get it in front of the Facilities Committee, but I do think it's great news for the Township and the Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Are there any other questions on items 1 through 21?
I have a question.
Mrs. Suter?
On number 20, on Johnson Barron, what school, is that one specific school or is that a number of schools?
No, that's actually the Brick Township High School parking lot that was done this past summer. It's a change order credit, so it's money coming back to us.
Okay.
The amount, the quantities that they had bid on, they were able to do the project for less, so we're actually receiving money back net. There were some ads, as you look at the change order, there were some things that they had to do that weren't anticipated as part of the base bid.
Right.
So, but in net, we're getting money back on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do I have any questions from the public on items 1 through 21? Seeing none? Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Page 63, number 5, 15-05745. I abstain, the rest I say yes.
Ms. Sudar?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Moving on to Human Resources, Ms. Osborne?
Thank you, Madam President. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items numbered 1 through 18.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second. Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Do I have any questions from board members on items 1 through 18?
I just have a comment. On number 1, I was sorry to see Mrs. Frigoletti and Mrs. Paredes' name on there. My daughter was blessed enough to have them for a 3rd and 4th grade teacher, and I can't say enough about them. They were absolutely fabulous. Besides being a wonderful teacher, teachers, they were just so compassionate, and no matter what those kids needed at that age, they both were right there. So I wish you the very, very best of luck in whatever in your future, and I will really miss you, and I know there'll be a huge, huge spot lost in that school, because you were 2 absolutely wonderful, wonderful teachers, and I thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sudar. Anyone else? Mr. Talty?
Yes, on employment,
Number 6?
Number 6, yes. I was in attendance when we observed the 4 people who were being brought in for those positions. I asked a question, which I thought I had a right to get that information. I was denied that information. At that point, I left the meeting. So I will be abstaining on 3, 4, 5, and 6 for those teachers. This has no reflection on their ability or how good or not so good they're going to be as teachers. But I felt I had a right to I had a right to request certain information, which at that point I was denied. As I said before, that's when I left the meeting. That's all.
Can I ask what information you requested? Can I ask what information you requested?
I requested to know how many people were involved in each open position, how many people were interviewed. And I was denied that.
Oh, what's the second?
So when that happened, that's when I left. I'm not going to fool around with that.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Barton?
And this is about number 8, section 5, Mr. Reed, it's volunteer position. Being that I'm new, I have to go through the process. And part of the process is to declare conflicts of interest. And reading conflicts of interest, it defines an administrator as anyone that works within the board, hired, paid, or not paid, administrator, supervisor, principalship, but anybody that works within the board that has the ability to make a recommendation on purchase of supplies or Purchase of supplies, property, or acquisition recommendations. Knowing what happens in financial committees, finance committee's obviously going to make some sort of recommendations at where the money goes and how the money's going to get there. Is Mr. Reed going to be protected by declaring a conflict of interest? What is the form called?
First of all, Mr. Barton, I have to tell you that Mr. Reed, as a volunteer, as well as you as a board member in a committee, are not allowed to make any recommendations of any sort. Recommendations are made by the superintendent only. Mr. Reed would be someone who I commend for, after being defeated in an election and working as hard as he did as a board member, to want to further come back and devote his time to this district, to making it better because of his education and his knowledge. I have to commend him for that. As far as making recommendations, Mr. Reed will not be making recommendations. They are only made by the superintendent. So I do not believe, in my capacity, you have a conflict at all.
Good answer. And I have one more question. With our board policies, and being that this policy was last revised and adopted in 1983, advisory committees working with the board have timeframes, specific timeframes. Is there a set timeframe? Is this a yearly volunteer position? Or is it an ongoing, is there a specific detailed position that he's being asked to volunteer his services for? Which I agree with you that his services have helped the district. He's knowledgeable. Right now, he's up to date on everything that the district is doing. So try not to misinterpret what I'm saying. It's for the integrity of the board. I just want to protect him, protect us by doing it the right way. So does my question come out yet? The question is, actually, is because you're using the word volunteer, is this part of that policy that says that this person has to have a limited time frame? I mean, it's specific that there would be a report given, and then the committee, the volunteer committee, and they don't call it a committee here, they call it a ad hoc committee, not just volunteer. But I'm assuming that if he's on a committee with the board, that it would fall under this auspice. And maybe I'm reading into it too much, but it's just, I'm trying to help protect the board.
Mr. Barton, the appointment is for the school year. I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe while on the volunteers, I believe that's done annually. So this would just be for this current school year. Am I right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. That's correct, Mr. Schreiber.
And then, but you're right in terms of, we need to take a look, like, this is one of those policies that we may need to take a look at as you proceed forward to update your policy book, because, quite frankly, some of the policies were done a long time ago.
I got the answers I was hopefully hearing. That, I mean, I understand why we need to have the public involved, and I think it's a good thing to have somebody who has the knowledge and can work so well with the board members to come in as a volunteer. So thank you for the answers.
You're welcome.
Everything.
Any other questions from board members? Seeing none, do I have any questions from the public on items 1 through 18? Mr. Lau, you could just take the microphone, and I'm going to just let everyone know that the reason why I made a little bit of a change is because I have received quite a few complaints that when people come up to the podium, they cannot be heard when they watch it on TV. So I just want to make sure that everyone can hear our public when they come up and their comments are heard. So that's why I'm giving them our microphones that seem to work better than the one that was on the podium.
Thank you, Ms. Cantillo. Just a comment and observation. Certainly, we thank Mr. Reed for his contributions in the past, and we look forward to whatever he can pass on to our fellow board members with his expertise, whether it's this year or going forward or more. Mr. Barton, welcome. Congratulations. Glad to see you with us. Also, we all know Mr. Hyphantis and Mr. Campbell have been able to contribute to facilities. I'm hoping Mr. Reed will participate, obviously, in the budget, which I'm sure Ms. Cusinelli will be happy with. But congratulations and good luck to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Do I have any other questions or comments from the public? About this or? On these items 1 through 18. Okay. Ms. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Yes on everything except, just give me a chance here. Number 6, yes to all except 3, 4, 5, and 6. I abstain on those. Yes to everything else.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Can we have our new people come on?
Sure.
Can I have all of our new employees come up and be recognized, and we can welcome you formally to the district? We'd like to shake your hands.
Congratulations.
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 See you again. Welcome.
Congratulations, good luck. Congratulations. Good luck. Congratulations, good luck. Good luck. Congratulations.
Number 3.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
At this time, I'm going to ask for comments from board members. Mr.
Sure.
Panucci, you want to start off?
I will be brief. I want to thank our police department and our DARE officers. I've been going to all of the elementary school DARE programs with Dr. Uzinski and various board members. The kids absolutely love it. They love the officers, and they're excited that the Lead and Seed program is going to follow them into the middle school starting next year. It's a fabulous thing. I want to say that all of our student athletes, I've been going to a lot of athletic events across the board in Brick Township, and when I tell you this, believe me, there's nothing more that they want to see than a big crowd. Go on our website, find, your high school, find the schedules, and go. Our students would love to see full stands. It means the world to them, believe me. I've been going to a few Challenger basketball games with our special needs students. They've been having an amazing time, and I want to commend the Brick Memorial High School administration on a fantastic National Honor Society ceremony. The entire board and Dr. Uzinski also went to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci. Mr. Talty?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank Mrs. Joseph for putting on a wonderful National Honor Society with her staff. It was very exciting to be there. I like to be at that type of event. Also, this past Friday, I was able to attend a basketball game between veterans and the lake. The proceeds to go towards a family that has a great need. And it was a very large crowd and very enthusiastic crowd. And I was glad I was able to see it. It was very entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talty. Mr. Borton?
Thank you. This past week was a little bit tough for the family. My wife has a friend who works for the district who lost a husband. And knowing what she had been going through for a few years and knowing that you just keep coming to work and you never give up, and knowing what the teachers that your kids may have going on in their own lives, and knowing for the new teachers what you're going to end up doing when you get to be somebody like my age, and you're living what I'm talking about right now. It's really tough, but being that you're sharing these families' children is one of the greatest experiences that you'll ever have, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it's a terrific thing that you're starting your careers. Good luck to everybody. And as far as the snow removal and the safety, sounds like everything's still working. I know that you're pushing all the machinery, and hopefully that can all be maintained properly and everything can go well there, because winter's not over. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Mrs. Suter?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the staff at Lake Riviera for the vets and the Lake Riviera boys basketball team. It's really nice when the community comes together for a needy family, and between the students, the staff, the parents, Brick Township High School, cheerleaders, everybody pulled together and they raised $5,000 for a very, very needy family. And it's just really nice to see. The kids had a great time. I was sitting in the bleachers with Mr. Talty, and it was really, really enjoyable. So I just wanted to thank everybody that was involved with that. You did such a great job. And it didn't really matter who won or lost. It was just really nice to watch all of them. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Suter. Mrs. Cusinelli?
Yes, I just want to echo really what Mr. Panucci was talking about with all the events that we have, and it's so great to attend these. And I do want to encourage people, even if you don't have children who are currently in school, to please go to our website, www.brickschools.org, and you can always see what's going on. And I also want to commend everyone involved with the DARE graduations. And I have to really commend the parents, because I was so impressed with how many parents were in attendance at all the ones that I attended. And, you know, that makes all the difference on every level with your children, is to be involved. And I was really, really happy to see so many parents that took the time to be there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to share?
I would like to just, Mr. Panucci and I were at the wrestling match at Memorial on Saturday, and that was outstanding, but I would like to just publicly honor Ronnie Brooks, I think was his name, right?
Yes.
Wow, he came to sing, right? He's a veteran, and he came out to sing the opening of the Star Spangled Banner to him. Not only does he have a magnificent voice, but he just motivates and moves everyone. The gentleman is just impeccable, and I just feel compelled to thank him publicly for what he does for our school district, but most especially that gifted voice that he has, magnificent. So, and it was a very enjoyable event. Didn't matter who won. My nephew wrestled, so it was good. He lost, but it was good to watch. So it was a great time. Thank you.
At this time, I'll open the floor up to the public for public comment. You could just come up and sign your name and address, and I'll hand you the microphone. Here you go.
Sure.
Excuse me, only one person at a time. And if you can just...
Yes, you can.
Just take a seat, and you can go after he does. You can just sit down.
Miss?
One person at a time.
Thank you. Just as a former parent, as a current parent of former BRIC students, I want to say thank you to the Board of Education, first of all. They're all independent, and they're all doing very nicely, so we appreciate everything that the BRIC teachers have been doing for them. It was also an honor as a former administrator to see all of the awards that were given out tonight, and to see the progress that the students are making and how well they're doing both academically and athletically. I want to take this opportunity as the president of the congregation at Temple Beth Or to thank everybody on the board for the revision in the calendar, for helping us to honor the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. That's greatly appreciated. I want to thank you for the respect that you gave to the multiculturalism in Brick Township and what it means to us. With that, it's always been 2 days that have been given to for the high holiday season, and the only exceptions were if it came out on a Shabbos and a Saturday. So that was the reason why it had changed to 1 day at various times during the different years. We do appreciate it. Rabbi and I are greatly in debt to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Your name for the record?
Susan Buchholz. Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Buchholz. My daughters attend Lake Riviera and Brick Township High School. This is my first time standing up in front of a board, so bear with me. I have refused my daughters from taking the park, and I know that we're going to have information sessions, so I wasn't sure if I should ask this tonight or not, but since I came,
Yes,
might as well. I spoke, I sent my letters to the appropriate people, to you and to the principals and such, and received a call from Miss McNamara, and she was very, very delightful, so thank you. Let's see. So Miss McNamara told me that my girls would have to sit in the testing room and would be given something to read that was approved by the district. I have a few questions about that. Number one is there seems to be a disparity between the districts on the alternatives for the children who aren't taking the test. So why is that? How come it's not, one thing for the whole state, or, why are some people, the kids can sit in the library with, someone, like, I just don't know the answer. I'm not criticizing or anything. I just would like to know that. Two, for instance, my one daughter in the high school, she's going to have to read To Kill a Mockingbird soon. Right now, I think they're reading Romeo and Juliet. But anyway, that's going to be around the time when she's going to be reading To Kill a Mockingbird. So my thought was, let's kill two birds with one stone. Ha, no pun intended. So why not have her be able to read To Kill a Mockingbird?
She can.
She hates to read, so she'll have to do it anyway. And my other daughter loves to read anything you put in front of her. So, I'd like to be able to have a book that we picked so they'll be interested, because for 3 hours, like, I understand that they have to be in the room. I sort of understand that, but, so that's one question. Another thing is, why can the children not sit in the library with the librarian if there's not a ton of kids? I can see if there's 200 kids not taking the test, but if it's just 10 kids, they could sit in the library. They can sit in front of the computer, their test can be voided, and then maybe they can go to the library. I don't know what the answers are, but just something to think about for the parent session. I do feel that it's my right as a parent to provide them reading during the test. I kind of get a feeling, not accusing anybody, but that not everybody's on the same page with this, and that there's a little bit of, maybe that the kids are being penalized for the parents' decision. Like, all my kids know is that, they know why they're not going to take the test, but they don't know all the reasons why I'm not having them take the test. And to sit them in front of a computer for 3 hours every day that the test is going on, I don't know, just doesn't seem, it just seems like that's a penalization, if that's even a word. So those are my questions. Last one. And the test is going to be voided, Ms. McNamara said. I just don't know what that means exactly. Does that mean, I don't know. I don't know what that means, so.
Well, first of all, thank you for, and I did appreciate you asking me, and rather than wait for the parent session, we could ask the questions. But to answer all of those questions in one answer comes from the Commissioner of Education. Now, I'm going to and that's where we get our directives from. And we were told at our superintendent's roundtable last month, which I'll be having one next Thursday, and this has been a heated topic with us, because we're asking the same questions you're asking.
Okay,
But they mandate to us. The DOE and the commissioner is my boss.
right,
Then the Board of Ed. So when they tell me I have to do it, I have no choice.
right.
So they're saying to us, they must stay in the classroom. We do not make exceptions. We don't have separate rooms. We don't provide extra teachers. We don't have supervision for them because there'll be a cost factor, so forth. They have to be in the regular with the regular kids. That's a mandate to us. The one thing they are saying to us is you have two options. One, you could have them sit and read, give them an activity, or you can have them, and I'm appalled at this as a parent, as a grandparent, as a taxpayer, and as an administrator. Yeah, sit, look, and stare.
Right.
Now, that, to me, I would be appalled as a parent, somebody told me that my kid's going to do that. So I will not do that. As far as with the Kill a Mockingbird, I don't know why, and I'm going to have conversations about I see she's biting at the bit to speak, but if I may, through the chair, if I could have Susan say something. But it's really, we want to do something like that. I don't see why they couldn't read To Kill a Mockingbird. We want to do something academically for them that would be apropos, not just read, Romeo and Juliet, and they're not using it, But,
As far as the disparity,
and the void, let me just answer your final question. The void just simply means that it's voided because they're not taking it, there's an error, because when the assessment test came along with standardized test, if God forbid the child got sick and something happened to it, we have to void that test. It simply means the child did not take the test. And yes, respectfully to you, you have the right to refuse it. But then we have to just have them in the classroom and do it. And we're going to do it. We're not going to harm the children or hurt them.
Thank you.
As I'm being mandated by it, so
Right.
believe me, children
The
come
question
first.
as far as what you said, I know Pearson, and I know many people have called Pearson and asked them,
Yes.
or, Pearson is saying that they do not allow non-testing children in the room with testing children.
Pearson can't dictate that.
Okay, so Pearson also said that New Jersey State, the state of New Jersey, can override that. So,
That's what I'm saying. This is coming from the commissioner, yes.
Okay.
And please note, as I said earlier, things are changing very rapidly. And I know Ms.
feel it.
McNamara just went to a meeting the other day. Maybe she has some more information, because we are asking the very same questions you are.
Right.
And we're getting a lot of this.
Right.
So we're going to try to do our best, and but we're going to be conscious of the children and not hurt them or harm them and make it futile for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, it was a pleasure speaking with you the other day. In terms of the materials that can be read in the classroom when a student either refuses or can no longer take the test and we need to void it, the technology that is approved for taking that test is removed from the child, so they will not be sitting in front of the computer. We will move them to a more comfortable setting in the classroom, and we are mandated to provide recreational reading that has absolutely no content that relates to the test. So as long as we can be assured that To Kill a Mockingbird is not part of the state
That's a
testing,
recreational reading.
then
I
they can
declare it.
certainly read that material. But that was what I was referring to when I said we would have to pick the material that the student would read, because we have to make sure that it does not relate to the content of the test. The voiding, Dr. Uzinski explained perfectly, and I don't remember any other question. Did I cover them all for you? Oh, the Pearson piece. Pearson speaks to all of the states that are mandated to do the park. When they talk about a non-testing student, if you have a multi-grade class where you might have 9th and 10th graders in that classroom, but you're only giving the 10th grade English language arts test, then the 10th grader is a non-testing student and may not be in that room. That's their definition of non-testing, which is different than a child who is actually a testing student, but for some reason is not capable or refuses to take the test. Okay? Thank you.
And then please, at the parent meeting, if you come up with more
Thank you,
questions or
Mr.
ask,
McNamara.
and call anytime. Because if we can screen those calls and we have the answers, we're going to give them. But if not, we are keeping copious notes on that, and they give them to me that I take to the superintendent's roundtable, which is all the superintendents in the county, and we have our executive county superintendent there, so that if we ask questions and he can't answer, then he takes it to the DOE level for us and tries to get us an explanation on what. But we're fighting for the students, so, all right? Especially here. I don't know about anywhere else, but here, we will.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else? Name and address for the record, please.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Would I be able to pass it to you? Take a minute on my side and pass it down to you?
Absolutely. You know what? Why don't you give them to me and I'll pass them out. I'll hand them out. I'll hand them down.
2 for each person?
Yeah, just hand them.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 2 for each person.
It's not a letter per se, it's something I'm going to read, but I think it would be, when I'm reading it, I think visually it will also help a lot. So that's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Has everybody got one down there now?
Everybody have one down there?
I need one? No, it's you, Sharon, and then
Okay.
down to that end.
One set. 2 sets. 3 sets. Okay, that's it. Sharon, do you have
Okay,
one?
that's it. Thank you.
That's it, yep, we all got one. Thank you.
Here you go.
Here's the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening. I'll just take, this should take me like 2 minutes to read. Brick Board of Ed. Good evening. I'm Trevor Sherwood, and I work for you. The Brick Board of Education. I'm a school bus driver in the district. I was a substitute driver from April of 2012 until I was hired as a permanent driver on February 1st, 2013. That was 2 years ago. I have been a 5-hour part-time driver since then, even picking my own 5-hour run in August of 2014 in anticipation of the new 2014-2015 school year. At the November 20th 2014 board meeting, I was approved to make $17 an hour through no knowledge of my own. No one told me or asked me about the increase in pay. If one of the other drivers didn't inform me of the increase, I still would not know what the extra money was for. To this day, I have never signed anything or been told anything in regards to this raise. I worked my 5-hour run until Friday, December 12, 2014, when I won a bid for an 8-hour run that became available. I started the 8-hour run on December 15th, that next Monday. I thought I would have been approved for it at the December 18th board meeting, but it wasn't on the meeting's agenda. I was taken off the 8-hour run a few days after we returned to work this month from the winter break. I understand that you wouldn't want someone making $17 an hour to be an 8-hour driver. That was never the intent. I think I then should have been put back to the regular pay scale of an 8-hour driver and continue to work my new run. I also understand that drivers over the years who won bids to be an 8-hour driver were able to drive their new run pending approval at the next board meeting. My question is, why couldn't that have been done for me? Out of over 100 drivers, I'm the only one that this affects in this way. I'm the only one that has to wait for board approval instead of pending approval that all other drivers were granted. Also on that first page, there's a red number 1, about a third of the way down on the outside. That pertains to the second sheet with number 1 on it for the November 20th board meeting, where I was approved for the $17 an hour. The second page of that, which is in red, number 2, also my pay stub reflects that I am now a substitute. A substitute is a person who takes the place of a regular permanent employee who is absent. That does not describe my work and position at all. In transportation employment availability on your webpage, openings for school bus drivers, part-time, are listed at $17 an hour. Next is an opening for substitute school bus drivers, and the $17 an hour is not listed. That's the third page, marked in red. Again, I am a permanent employee, not a substitute. On the ASAP webpage this school year, which is page 4, this school year, I am entitled to 3 personal days and 13 sick days. Substitutes are not entitled to that. I feel that I've put in my time, waited patiently the last 2 months to be approved for an 8-hour run that I was taken off of. I also feel that I've been an honorable and excellent bus driver for the Brick Board of Education. Again, I am the only one of over 100 bus drivers who finds himself in this unwanted position, which I never asked for. I would really appreciate the board's approval this evening so I can return to my 8-hour run and continue driving for the community of Brick, New Jersey. Sincerely, Trevor Sherwood.
All right, sir, what you're raising here, no, there's not going to be any approval tonight. There can't be any approval tonight because it hasn't gone through the Human Resource Committee, number 1.
Paperwork was sent in quite a while ago.
And number 2 is also that there are a number of grievances which deal with similar circumstances such as this. So I don't know if this is one of the grievances that's pending by your union or not, but that's the process really that should go through if you have a question or you want to challenge whatever happened to you is not consistent with your employment agreement, your TWU agreement. So at this stage, my advice to the board is this is not the place to comment on that. You have a grievance process if you feel you need to take advantage of it. And I'm not sure whether you're part of the grievances. There's a whole series of grievances that are currently pending. Okay, well, that's the place that this has to be decided, not here tonight. So I suggest you talk to a union representative, and maybe he can fill you in more on the process and the steps. And I'm not sure what step it's at, but it will go through the process, and ultimately a decision will be made.
Did you inform me about the November 20th board meeting where someone decided that I should be making $17 an hour? My name was the only name on there?
No, I can't, because I'm not familiar with that, and I wouldn't be able to do it here at this time. And again, that would be something that'd have to be dealt with in the grievance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
Is
coming.
there anyone else in the public that would like to make a comment? Just print your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. Two things. I'd like to thank everybody. My daughter's a senior at Brick Memorial, and she's going to go for a pre-vet major for college, and she's gotten into 5 out of her 6 universities so far, and has gotten a significant merit money, all due to the Brick education that she's got. So thank you very much for all the hard work you do. So I really appreciate it, Mr. Caldez. Very good school system. I'm kind of here tonight because I need a little advice as a parent. I'm hoping you guys can help me. There was an incident, I have 3 high schoolers, 3 at Brick Memorial, and I have a grade school child. And there was an incident about 2 weeks ago that I think I handled pretty badly as a parent, but going forward, I want to know what to do in the future. There was an incident that happened on Twitter my kids were not involved in it, they weren't being bullied, it wasn't really addressed to them, but it flew through Twitter overnight about an incident happening between two groups of kids at Brick Memorial, to the point that the young man that was on Twitter was obviously very distressed, ranting on Twitter, really sending out significant threats about slitting people's throats, things like that, to these other group of kids. So my kid's not involved, just seeing this all flying around, going all around Twitter. I'm not really paying much attention. You know, they're talking about this at night. It doesn't really affect my kids or me. They don't know these kids other than all this is going on Twitter and it's being passed from kid to kid. If you have kids, you know how that goes. I'm not really thinking much about it. The next morning they get up, they're getting ready for school, they're going out to school, and they're all talking, calm as can be, the three of them, how they're going to escape if somebody comes into school with a gun. Well, I'm in second period, I'm going to jump out the window. What are you going to, well, don't go out to the car, because my daughter drives. Don't go out to the car, go out the front. This is the world they live in, and the weirdest thing is they're just completely calm about it. Well, second period, you know, they're not panicked, and the weirder thing is I'm not panicked. I'm like not taking any of it seriously, and I'm saying, finally I was like, if you guys are really concerned, don't go to school. If you really think this is a serious issue, and you know, oh no, they go out the door. But this is the world that they live in now, you know, so I thought about it after they left, and I thought, I shouldn't have to send my 3 kids to school planning their escape routes because of stuff they're seeing on Twitter and Facebook. And it made me realize this kid was obviously in a lot of pain. You don't want to hit the panic button and be like Chicken Little, the sky's falling. So what do I do as a parent?
Notify the building principal immediately.
When something like that,
Immediately.
Well-
We have people that handle this and deal with it in the district, but something like that, please let the building principal know immediately,
okay.
because this is the first I hear of it, and it would get to my desk, but unless a parent or someone tells us and we don't know about it, and we find out
Sure.
long time, so please, no matter what, anything at all like that, please notify the building principal ASAP. And you
So-
could even say that Dr. Yazinski said I'm to notify immediately.
So, I
They
mean,
know
you
they
know,
have
it's
contact.
at nighttime, they go to school at 7 in the morning. I mean, to contact the,
Contact, there's an email, even on, you want to go on the website, and there's a contact, you could contact them by email. Do that, contact me by email, whatever. I want to know immediately, so does the building principal. We'll
So-
deal with that ASAP.
my next question is, with the way the world is today, is there a policy in place? In other words, this didn't really affect my kids. It wasn't directed at them, they weren't being bullied. Is there a policy to hold kids accountable for what they put out on Twitter and Facebook? In other words, so this kid came to school, he sat in school, as far as he was concerned, it was a non-issue. It was just a rant, I'm sure, that just, he wasn't realizing that what he put out there. And it made me realize that even though my kids weren't directly affected, they were affected. So is there any policy in place that helps the teachers and administrators kind of hold kids accountable with some kind of consequence? Like, you can't just vomit whatever you want out on Twitter and Facebook, and and even though you don't mean it, it affects all these other kids that are going to school scared now. So is there a policy, and if not, maybe, unfortunately, the way the world is, maybe we need to think about that to protect the teachers. Because I said to my kids are friends with a lot of teachers. I said, bring your phone to a teacher and show them that Twitter, they'll know what to do. You know, they'll bring it up to the right channels without me panicking everybody. And so, but are they mandated to bring it up the chain of command? I mean, I don't know what, there's a policy. So I guess that's what I'm just bringing it to your attention, that maybe unfortunately in the world we live in,
Mr. Schrag,
you have to start thinking about this.
No, but there is a policy, when the Anti-Bullying Act went into effect, and, you know, it's whether there's a HIB, if there's harassment, intimidation, or bullying, if that gets reported, there is a process, and people are held accountable. Now,
Even if it's not, like, my kid would report it, but it's not at my kid. So
well,
would that still
that's
fall under
true.
that?
That's a little bit of a different, but I would report it. But if in fact it turns out that it is a HIB incident, then the district can address it that way, and it may be counseling, it may be meeting with the parents, it may be more severe discipline, depending on the nature of, you know, the facts of the event, but there's a whole process to have these things investigated.
And even if it's not, if I may,
Yeah, and
Mr.
even if
Strata,
it's
even
not
if
a-
it's not your child, just please call us. You don't even have to give
Oh,
a
sure.
name if you don't want. We
Sure,
do,
and I
we
understand
receive
that.
a lot of that, but we investigate, we do an investigatory interview on anything. We find out all the information we can on anything that's given to us. Many times, it goes to a dead end. Don't know why or why people call and say what they do. But we take it very, very serious
Okay.
on anything that comes in. We don't just say, oh, it's that issue. No. We document, we watch, we monitor, we alert the teachers, we alert the administrators. We have a whole plan in place of what we do, regardless of whether it's even in board policy. We have procedures in place.
Okay.
Because maybe if there was something, why were we alerted to it? And we're not finding anything right now, but we're not going to just leave it go. So we have things in place to monitor, to keep an eye on that. So that's why I'm saying, please, at any time, and if you feel uncomfortable, you just email me and say, I want this
I
confidential.
think personally, I just didn't take it seriously enough. But then after I thought about it, I thought,
No,
what, this is
please.
crazy.
Never,
So-
don't even second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Just send it to us. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Dr.
saw your
Valdez
point.
wanted to...
I think when you started at the beginning saying that you saw at night some stuff that maybe was threatening and stuff, if that happens at night in your home, you call the Brick Police Department right away. We've had that happen in the past. The SRO at both schools, Detective Burns and Detective McCarthy, immediately called the building administrators. The superintendent is then notified. But if you think, and I think there was just something on the news where parents saw a threat, the kids were showing them, and nobody reported it, and unfortunately,
Well, that's the thing.
That's it,
Nobody
but
ever
you
really
call the police
gonna
department
happen,
at
right.
home at night if something that comes up, and then the police will go, because they'll go to the house to see if somebody's threatening to harm themselves, they'll immediately go there. It's more than just a school issue at that point, and then, it becomes, as Dr. Yuzinski laid out, what would happen. But if you feel somebody's going to cause harm, like a few years ago, we had somebody make a threat of, possible something going to happen the next day in school. We put a phone dialer out. Dr. Yuzinski instructed us to put a phone dialer out to the parents, letting them know what was happening, because it was rampant through the social network that this was
Okay.
what was out there. The police got involved. They were involved all night, and they tracked it down to two people who started it.
Okay. All right,
We just
thank you.
need to hear, and I
Sure.
thank you very much for coming with something like that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Lau.
Just wanted to get back, if I could, on career days that we have scheduled coming up for the high schools. The Chamber of Commerce, myself, Mr. Conti, Ms. Carlson, working with the guidance departments of both schools, Mr. Philippone's staff at Brook High School, Jenny P., and as well as Ms. Oates, Elizabeth Oates from Ms. Joseph's staff at Brook High School, Brook Memorial High School. Brook Memorial will be on Thursday, March the 12th. Brick High School will be Thursday, April 23rd. We're also working with Brick High School possibly for a jobs fair, which they had asked for in May and maybe possibly early June. We've been blessed to have many professionals across the town, not just the Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Osborne has been with us. Mr. Edwards, I'm sure, is paying attention. Already jotted those dates down. We've had many people come forth in the past and volunteer, and certainly that's why I'm bringing it to everybody's attention. We would, Mr. Panucci, of course, in the past, we'd like to have people, professionals, come forward. The students look for not just the professions themselves, but also the stories. They love to hear the paths that we've all taken to where we are. I know Mr. Edwards has an interesting path, and that's what really entices them to get involved. We've had hundreds and hundreds of students, especially last year, were very successful at having a great couple of blocks early in the morning, and we're going to do it again. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the scholarships, too.
Thank you very much, Mr.
And
Lau.
the Chamber really does an excellent job with those career fairs.
We really do.
Anyone else with a comment? Seeing none? I have a couple dates. February the 10th is kindergarten registration. It begins 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. February 13th is also a professional day, no school for students. February 16th is President's Day, school is closed. February 26th is our next regular meeting at 7 o'clock here at Brick High School. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Thank you. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.